Frankly, as far as spiritual awakening goes, 90% of so-called spiritual practices are a total waste of time. When we're beginners, we look for practices that the gurus tell us will lead us to emancipation. These practices may be helpful for a while, but after some years, we find that they don't lead us to the goal of self-realization. I spent 15 years wasting my time with set periods of meditation, which for the most part offered only temporary relief. Once the meditation is over, you'll plunge back into the same mentality and attitudes that you had before. I never got anywhere until I realized that meditative consciousness must be continuous throughout the day and throughout life. Most people are self-consciously doing meditation, being generally unaware of what meditation is. You can't do meditation. If 1 minute of meditation occurs in half an hour of attempting to still the mental traffic, you're extremely lucky. Meditation is the constant awareness of being without thought. One way to achieve this is the refusal to pick up on any thought that happens to flow through the thoughtless space which is your real nature. This doesn't require any set periods, but simply vigilance in every moment. Consciously ensure that you're not caught up in the endless daydreams and thought flow that constantly invades your otherwise silent inner space. You can spend years doing Hatha Yoga asanas, the postures, breathing techniques, forcing Kundalini arousal, gaining psychic powers and such like, under the impression that these are spiritual practices. But they won't take you one step nearer to the self, the absolute, the reality, the omnipresence, Allah, Yahweh, God, or whatever you want to call it. Of course, you may spiritualize your yoga practice, as many sincere practitioners do, by coming from the heart in all your efforts. It's the quality of the heart, not the mind or your intention, with which you do your practice that makes a difference. But the practices in themselves, valuable as they may be for your physical and mental well-being, are not leading you to the source. After years of doing other practices, one day you'll come to realize the truth of what I'm suggesting. However, everyone has to start from where they are. If you're unable to grasp the simplicity and yet the profundity of the teachings of Advaita, then you need to follow heart-based yoga practices. They're all helpful to a degree for purifying the body and the mental waves over time. But understand that this is the all-round-the-houses method. But even so, no sincere spiritual practice is ever wasted, as it always leaves a subtle impression on the soul. So if you must insist on following all the other practices, then do them while consciously immersed in the feeling of being in the heart center. In that way, the fruit of your sadhana, your practice, will ripen more swiftly. The truth is always unpalatable to those who are set in their ways and those who've invested a lot in time-consuming sadhanas or spiritual practices. So I'll doubtless offend a lot of people when I say that just going to church or mosque or temple or synagogue, mindlessly mumbling liturgies by rote or parroting scriptures, lighting candles, waving lights, attending rituals, eating wafers, insisting on wearing a particular kind of headgear or none at all, according to the sect that you belong to, or following the instructions of the compiled rules and regulations of congregational fraternities. All that is what is known as religion. But none of it is spiritual practice. This is merely resting in the herd warmth of your religious comfort zone. It is not taking you one iota nearer to God. When you've finally seen through all that and come to realize this fact, then what is left? What is left? Is there really nothing to do? Many seekers become confused by teachers telling them, you don't have to do anything. Thou art that. You are essentially the self of the universe. Yes, it's true. You don't have to do anything to be what you already are. But what is required to begin with is the constant observation of what you are not. Once you've understood, at least appreciated, that you are not the invasive thought flow that constantly troubles you, nor are you the psychological sense of ego, the habit you've attached your sense of self-worth to, then all that is needed is to passively observe the machinations of these two functions without buying into any of their activities. Simply observe them unto death, until they no longer have any purchase on your consciousness. This is true tapasya, spiritual practice, and is the final experience of Advaita, the concept of non-two-ness or non-separation from the whole or the omnipresence. If you're capable of that, then no other practice is necessary. This is the swiftest path to self-realization.